Hello everyone, this is Meenakshi Dilip Birari, working as an assistant professor in chemistry at Maratha Vidya Prasarak Samaj, Nasik. From last few lectures, we were discussing about some basic terms related to surface chemistry. In previous lectures, we have studied the difference between adsorption and absorption. Also, we have studied the adsorption isotherms, Langmuir adsorption isotherm, Freundlich adsorption isotherm, and Bate theory. Now, in today's lecture, we have to study the applications of adsorption. Adsorption has numerous applications in the laboratory as well as in industry. Some of these applications are adsorption. It is useful in clarification of sugar, in gas mask, in catalysis. Also, adsorption, it is also used in adsorption indicators, in chromatographic analysis, for softening of hard water. The concept of adsorption, it is useful. Also in preserving vacuum, in paint industry, in removing moisture from air, in the storage of delicate instruments. So these are few applications of adsorption. Now we have to study in detail the applications of adsorption one by one. Gas mask, it is one of the application of adsorption. All gas masks are devices containing an adsorbent, that is activated charcoal, or a series of adsorbents. These adsorbents remove poisonous gases by adsorption and thus purify the air for breathing. So, all gas masks that contains the adsorbent, that is activated charcoal, which is useful to remove the poisonous gases by the adsorption, and that purified air, it is useful for breathing. The concept of adsorption, it is also useful in heterogeneous catalysis. There are many reactions between gaseous substances which take place in the presence of a solid catalyst. These reactions fall under the category of heterogeneous catalysis or contact catalysis. Here, the catalyst functions by adsorption of the reacting molecules on its surface. A surface reaction can usually be broken into the various steps. So, what are the four steps involved in heterogeneous catalysis? Step first, the adsorption of reactant molecule at surface of catalyst. Second step, formation of activated complex. Third step, chemical reaction on surface. And the step fourth, that is desorption of product from the surface. So in heterogeneous catalysis, the four important steps are involved. First one, adsorption of reactant molecules at the surface of catalyst. Second step, formation of activated complex. Third step, chemical reaction on the surface. And the fourth one, desorption of products from the surface. The product molecules are desorbed from the surface and diffusion of products away from the catalyst surface take place and the products are stable. In heterogeneous catalysis, the molecules of reactants are adsorbed at the catalyst surface where they form an adsorption complex. This decomposes to form the product molecules which are taken off from the surface. In manufacture process of sulfuric acid, platinum or vanadium pentoxide or V2O5 is used as a catalyst in contact process. Similarly, iron powder or Fe powder is used as a catalyst in the manufacture of ammonia in Born-Haber process, and nickel is used in hydrogenation of oil to ghee. In heterogeneous catalysis, the reactant molecules, suppose A and B collide the catalyst surface, they are held up at the active centers on the surface of catalyst by weak van der Waals forces, that is called physical adsorption, or partial chemical bonds, that is chemisorption. Then in the second step, the adsorbed reacting molecules may then combine to form an adsorb activated complex. The activated complex is unstable and has a fleeting existence. After the formation of adsorption complex, in the next step, that is the third step, the chemical reaction occurs on the surface. The activated complex decomposes during chemical reaction on the surface to form the products. The decomposed products are held up at the surface by partial chemical bonds. So that is the step third. Next step, that is the step fourth. Here the product molecules are dissolved from the surface. Diffusion of the products away from the catalyst surface it take place. That means the product molecules which are taken off from the surface. So that is here the formation of product. The products are stable in the step fourth. So these are the few examples of the catalyst which are used in heterogeneous catalysis, that is platinum, vanadium pentoxide, Fe powder, or also the nickel, which are used in different processes. So adsorption having the important role in heterogeneous catalysis. Now the next application, that is removing of coloring matter from solutions. Animal charcoal, it is used as an adsorbent to remove the color of solutions by adsorbing colored impurities. Thus, in the manufacture of cane sugar, the colored solution is clarified by treating with animal charcoal or activated charcoal. So, this animal charcoal, it is useful to remove the impurities, colored impurities, and especially in the manufacture of the cane sugar, the colored solution is clarified by treating with animal charcoal or with the activated charcoal. Then froth flotation process. In the froth flotation process, the particles of sulfide are separated from silica. The sulfide particles preferentially adsorb on the oil globules. So, by using the froth flotation process, the sulfide ores like PBS, lead sulfide, zinc sulfide, copper sulfide are freed from silica and other earthy matter by using this process. Here, in this process, the finely divided ore is mixed with oil, that is pine oil, and it is agitated with water containing a detergent. Here the detergent, it is used as a foaming agent. When air is bubbled into the mixture, then the air bubbles are stabilized by the detergent and there may be the formation of foam, or that is froth. So these adsorbed mineral particles are wetted with oil and rise to the surface, and the earthy matter wetted by water and it settles down at the bottom, so that the silica and earthy matter, it can be removed from the low grade sulfide ores. That means there is the removal of impurities or the removal of gangue from the ore. So that gangue, that is the earthy matter, it settles at the bottom and it can be separated. In froth flotation process, the bubble formation or the froth formation, it occurs due to that the adsorbed mineral particles are wetted with oil and that rises to the surface, and this earthy matter, it settles at the bottom, so that the silica and other earthy matter, it can be removed from the ore. The another application, it is related to chromatographic analysis. Chromatography, this is a method to separate the constituents of a mixture and It is based on the fact that substances can be selectively adsorbed from the solution by a given adsorbent. So, in this process, the mixtures of small quantities of organic substances can be separated with the help of chromatography, which involves the principles of selective adsorption. Here, the mixture is dissolved in a suitable solvent, for example, in hexane, and poured through a tube containing adsorbent, that may be alumina. The component most readily adsorbed is removed in the upper part of the tube. The next most readily adsorbed component is removed next, and so on. Thus, the material is separated in bands in different parts of the tube. Now, pure solvent is poured through the tube. Each component dissolved in the solvent comes down by turn and is collected in a separate receiver. Mixtures of gases can be separated by selective adsorption of gases by liquids, that is, in gas chromatography. The gases also can be separated. In chromatography techniques, the mixture to be separated is first dissolved in a suitable solvent like acetone, in benzene, or in ether. The solution is then allowed to pass through a glass tube containing adsorbent. The adsorbents like silica gel, alumina, cellulose, resins, etc. That is also called as a adsorbing column. The different constituents are adsorbed preferentially at different layers, or there is the formation of different bands. The most readily adsorbed constituent from the uppermost band, while the least readily adsorbed constituent from the lowermost band. In this way, all the constituents are separated, making different bands. A pure solvent is then poured. The different bands are dissolved and collected separately in the form of solution. So this solution is also called as elution. So this chromatography method is useful to separate the constituents of the mixture, and it is based on the fact that the substances can be selectively adsorbed from the solution by a given adsorbent. Different adsorbents are useful, that may be silica gel, alumina, cellulose, or resins, and the solvents, suitable solvents in the chromatography, that may be acetone, benzene, ether, etc. There is the formation of band. Each constituent are separated, making different bands. A pure solvent is then poured. Different bands are dissolved and then collected separately in the form of solution, and that solution it is also known as elution. So that is the chromatographic analysis useful to separate the mixture. The another application, that is ion exchange adsorption. In recent years, many synthetic resins have been made which functions as ion exchangers. In effect, the resin has one ion adsorbed on it. The resin releases this ion and adsorbs another like ion. The process it is called as ion exchange adsorption. So there are two types of ion exchangers, namely cation exchange and anion exchange. When cations are exchanged, the resin is known as cation exchanger. The cationic exchangers are high polymers containing acidic groups such as sulfonic acid group SO3H. The resulting macroanion has adsorbed H plus ion. When solution of another cation like Na plus is allowed to flow over it, the H plus ions are exchanged for Na plus ions. So there is the exchange between the cations. H plus ions are replaced by Na plus ions. So this process in fact consists of desorption of H plus ions and adsorption of Na plus ions by the resin. So it is called as a cation exchange. Since the cationic exchange is reversible, the sodium salt upon treatment with an acid regenerates the original resin. The second one, that is anionic exchange. When anions are exchanged, it is referred to as a anion exchanger. A resin containing a basic group such as quaternary ammonium hydroxide will act as a anion exchanger. It will, for example, exchange OH minus ion for Cl minus. So OH minus ions can be replaced by Cl minus ion. The original anion exchanger resin can be regenerated by treatment of the resin chloride with a base OH minus ions. So when anions are exchanged, it is called as a anion exchanger. When cations are exchanged, it is known as a cation exchanger. So the ion exchange adsorption has many useful applications in industry, also in medicines. Ion exchange adsorption, it is also useful in water softening, in deionization of water, and also in electrical demineralization of water, also having some medical uses. The another application of adsorption in adsorption indicators. So what are adsorption indicators? The phenomenon of adsorption, it is used to detect the endpoints of the precipitation titrations. In such titrations, dyestuffs like eosin, fluorescein, alizarin red, etc. are used as adsorption indicators. At the end point of the titration, anions of indicator adsorb on precipitate and color change of the precipitate take place. For example, the precipitation titration of solution of sodium chloride against silver nitrate solution in presence of adsorption indicator like bromocresol blue is an example of this type of titration. The bromocresol blue has colored anion in it. When silver nitrate solution is added gradually to the solution of sodium chloride, there is a formation of silver chloride precipitate. After complete precipitation of silver chloride, any further addition of silver nitrate will increase the concentration of silver ions in the solution. The silver chloride now adsorbs the colored anion of the indicator from the solution, and the change in color of the precipitate is the end point of the titration. When, another example, a known volume of KBr is titrated against AgNO3 using eosin as an adsorption indicator, AgBr formation, that is white precipitate of AgBr occurs in that titration. So what is the reaction? Silver nitrate plus KBr give the formation of Ag plus Br minus plus KNO3, that is the formation of white precipitate in this titration by using the indicator eosin. The another example we can see the fluorescein dye, it is also an adsorption indicator. There is no color change of the precipitate as long as Br minus ions are present in the solution. Before endpoint, AgBr precipitate is in contact with unreacted KBr and therefore it will adsorb Br minus ions and negatively charge AgBr Br minus R form. The negatively charged precipitate will repel anion of eosin which are pink in color, so that the color of the precipitate remains unchanged. When all Br minus ions are consumed, that is the entire KBr is converted into AgBr, at this stage an excess drop of AgNO3 results into adsorption of Ag plus ions and AgBr Ag plus are formed. So these particles immediately adsorb the colored anions of the indicator eosine, and color of the precipitate changes to pink. So this is the end point of this titration. So the phenomenon of adsorption, it is used to detect the end point of some precipitation titrations. So one of the example, the precipitation titration of solution of sodium chloride against silver nitrate solution in presence of adsorption indicator like bromocresol blue. The another example, there is the formation of silver bromide in presence of silver nitrate and indicator, adsorption indicator, that is eosine. The next application, adsorption, also useful in water purification. Naturally occurring water mainly contains soluble and insoluble impurities. Insoluble impurities are mainly clay, sand, and vegetable matter, and soluble impurities are salts of metal like sodium, calcium, magnesium, iron, etc. Insoluble impurities in water are removed by filtration. The filtered water is then passed through the finely divided charcoal, which is packed in a column. The charcoal is a good adsorbent, so that it adsorbs the soluble impurities together with the vegetable and other coloring matter. So for the water purification, charcoal, it is also useful. Charcoal, it is a good adsorbent. So using charcoal we can purify the water. Naturally occurring water, it is impure. It is contaminated with soluble and insoluble impurities. So when impure muddy water is passed through a bed of activated charcoal, many impurities like vegetable and coloring matter get adsorbed on the charcoal, and thus water is purified. Charcoal has a double action. Its porous nature acts as a filter for removing insoluble impurities in impure water. Secondly, it also acts as an adsorbent, and it adsorbs the dissolved impurities from the impure water. So the presence of soluble impurities makes the water hard. The hardness of water is due to mainly Ca2 plus ions and Mg2 plus ions. Some natural silicates like zeolites and some synthetic organic long chain compounds called resins have a tendency to adsorb H plus ions or OH minus ions. So here also the cation exchangers adsorb the H plus ions and anion exchangers adsorb OH minus ions. The cation exchange resins are first treated with dilute acid. H plus ions of acid get adsorbed by the resin, and the anion exchange resins are treated with dilute alkali. OH minus ions of alkali get adsorbed by these resins. So by using cation exchange or anion exchange, also the removal of Ca2 plus, Mg2 plus, Cl minus or SO4 2 minus ions from hard water will be carried out, and after the removing of this ions like Ca2 plus or Mg2 plus from hard water, that water is converted into soft water. So by using that also the water is softer. The water purification is also carried out by using alum. So impurities in water can be removed by adding alum. So it is a common treatment. By using the alum we can purify the impure water. Alum is a good coagulating agent, so the colloidal impurities precipitate easily. Alum forms a gelatinous precipitate of positively charged colloidal material, that is AlOH thrice, which is good adsorbent. It adsorbs the impurities and coloring matter, particularly negatively charged particles, and by mutual coagulation both settle down and supernatant water, it becomes clear. So to remove the impurities, the alum is also useful. Alum, it is a good coagulating agent, so the colloidal impurities precipitate easily. Also by using ion exchange resins, the water purification can be carried out. So hard water, it becomes soft water by using ion exchange resins. Deionization of water or ion exchange resins is also considered to be adsorption phenomenon. The cation exchange resins adsorb the cations like Ca2 plus Mg2 plus ions. So due to the presence of these ions in the water, water becomes hard water. So Ca2 plus Mg2 plus, it imparts the hardness to the water. By removing this from the water, that is converted into soft water. And the cation exchange resins adsorb the cations, and there is the exchange of H plus ions. The anion exchange resins adsorb anions like Cl minus, SO4 minus and exchange OH minus ions. Thus, all the ions except H plus and OH minus are removed from the water, and the pure water is called deionized water. So, water of very high purity can be obtained by removing all dissolved salts. This is accomplished by using both a cation and anion exchanger resin. The water freed from all ions, that is free from cations and also free from anions, it is called as deionized or demineralized water. The water is then first passed through a column containing a cation exchanger resin. Here, any cation in water are removed by exchange for H plus. The water is then passed through a second column which is packed with an anion exchanger. Then any anions are removed by exchange of OH minus. So the ion, that is except H plus and OH minus, are removed from the water, and the pure water is called as a deionized water or demineralized water. The water is purer than distilled water and is also called as conductivity water. In another process which is more common way, the tap water is passed into the column containing both types of resins, that is cation and anion exchanger. Here the cations and anions are removed simultaneously. So by using that process also the deionized or demineralized water can be obtained. Now the other applications of adsorptions. Ferric hydroxide, it is a good adsorbent for arsenic ion. Arsenic salts are very poisonous, so the ferric hydroxide, it is used as an antidote in case of poisoning by arsenic. In preparing gas electrodes in electrochemical cells, the gases are adsorbed on platinized platinum. Coconut charcoal adsorbent is used in efficient separation of inert gases from their mixture. Granular charcoal is employed in the gas mask. This adsorbs the poisonous gases like chlorine, marsh gas, mustard gas, etc. from the atmosphere. Dirt and grime are also removed by adsorbing these materials on soap lather. In decolorization of sugar syrup, charcoal acts as an adsorbent. Fuller's earth is used to remove colors of vegetable or mineral oils. The dyeing of animal and vegetable fibers occurs through adsorption of the dye on the fiber, and also the noble gases are separated on the basis of extent of adsorption of the gases on the surface of activated charcoal. So in today's lecture we have studied the various applications of adsorption. Adsorption, it is useful for the formation of deionized or demineralized water. It is also used in cleaning purposes. All surfaces which are covered with the layers of either gaseous or liquid films, these are adhering agents which are removed by wetting. Also in precipitated titrations, the adsorption indicators are useful. For example, eosine, or bromocresol blue, alizarin red. These are used as a adsorption indicator. In heterogeneous catalysis, also in purification of water, in chromatography, the adsorption having applications. So, the adsorption has numerous applications in the laboratory as well as in industry. So, all the applications we have studied in detail in today's lecture. Thank you.